them because they don't like me. I don't like it when a couple of people at the top, the Janet Street Porter types, decide what viewers can see or not.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but you must have when you started out, it must have been a dream come true getting on all these TV shows.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
and then it sort of all comes down around. I mean, it's not just happened to you, it's happened to many of us.
Yeah, you do get the bit of a cancel thing going on, but you just got to deal with that. That's part of the job.
I watched Channel 4 News last night, and I got to 40 minutes in, and I thought, are they going to mention the fact that Keir Starmer is under the cosh here? That, you know, Lord Ali and the revelations coming out of the penthouse, the £18 million penthouse are getting worse. That, you know, the Labour Party's, you know, sort of folding in on itself.
The political class has always operated on a separate set of rules. Rules where accountability is optional and scandal is just another Tuesday. But this week, the bubble burst. So Keir Starmer isn't just caught in controversy, he's drowning in a scandal that threatens to wreck his carefully curated image. It all exploded after a shocking claim made by comedian Jim Davidson during a secretive stand-up routine at a Westminster club. According to Davidson, CCTV footage exists, captured inside Lord Ali's private office, allegedly showing Starmer in a compromising act. The alleged aftermath? Starmer's wife, Victoria, reportedly saw the footage during a charity gala, broke down in front of guests, contacted divorce lawyers, and stormed out of their home. Downing Street is scrambling to dismiss it as fantasy, but behind the scenes, Starmer's team is in panic mode, firing off cease and desist letters, floating legal threats, and working overtime to scrub the scandal from every corner of the internet. The man who promises transparency is now accused of waging a shadow campaign, not for justice, but for self-preservation. And Davidson, he's not backing down. He claims to have seen the footage with his own eyes and didn't hold back, calling it physically sickening. The twist? Starmer built his reputation on integrity. Now, that very reputation could be what brings him down.
I mean, this is unbelievable to me.
So I think there is something bigger going on here, and it's annoying because I don't know what it is. And I know that the lobby of political journalists at Westminster feel the same. All of us instinctively feel that there is some big fact here that we're not being made.
I mean, I'm going to ask the question because nobody else will. Is it some kind of sex thing? Do you think?
The mood inside Labour HQ has gone from tense whispers to outright. Senior figures are now entertaining the once unthinkable. How do we force Starmer out? To them, he's no longer a leader. He's a live wire threatening to blow up the entire party. A liability so toxic, his downfall could take every Labour MP down with him. And just when it looked like Jim Davidson might fold under pressure, he came back swinging. In a blistering rant, he didn't just attack Starmer's integrity, he mocked his leadership, branding him a puppet propped up by a powerful benefactor, shielding bogus asylum seekers while clinging to office. The fight's no longer political, it's personal. The gloves are off and Starmer's enemies aren't pulling punches, they're just warming up.
Is for me possibly the worst and most damaging aspect of this story, that this is a guy who is leading our country, who is the representative of the United Kingdom at the United Nations. You know, he's not the head of state, but he's, you know, the leader of the nation. He has lived a complete lie. I mean, I've said earlier today in the show, I don't know what he gets up to with Lord Ali. I don't know what he does for hours and hours on end at this flat that they seem to be happy to share.
Public anger toward Keir Starmer has hit a boiling point, and the scandal's only growing hotter. Explosive revelations about his shadowy relationship with Lord Ali and the luxury penthouse used for secretive political meetups have lit a fire across the country. But while social media erupts with fury and demands for transparency, the mainstream media stays suspiciously silent. BBC? Channel 4? Nothing? The silence isn't just noticeable, it's deafening, and to many, it reeks of complicity. Critics believe this isn't just negligence, it's a coordinated media blackout. Starmer, they argue, is being protected by elite journalists and networks too entangled in his rise to hold him accountable. And the penthouse? It's no mere backdrop. It hosted key Labour events, including one led by Wes Streeting, pulling even more high-ranking figures into the eye of the storm. This isn't just Starmer's scandal anymore, it's becoming a party-wide, worldwide implosion. And across the country, patience is running out.
I voted Labour all my life, but I now cannot bring myself to do so anymore because of the terrible corruption that is going on inside the party.
What's truly infuriated the public isn't just the scandal, it's the lies wrapped around it. A shady donation tied to climate policy still hasn't been properly disclosed, triggering alarm bells over secret favours and political payback. And now comes the kicker. Starmer recorded official statements inside Lord Ali's lavish penthouse, then passed it off as his personal residence. For someone who built his brand on transparency, the hypocrisy is jaw-dropping. This isn't a one-off mistake. It's part of a pattern that shows a leader willing to blur facts, cut corners, and stage optics if it protects his image. But the most unsettling part? We still don't know what else is hiding in the shadows. The juiciest details haven't been confirmed, but the eerie silence surrounding them only deepens suspicion. Even veteran journalist Isabel Oakeshott has stepped forward, warning that powerful media forces are scrubbing Starmer's history, editing out the inconvenient truths and shielding him from real scrutiny. And the public? They're waking up to the game. The man once sold as a breath of fresh air now feels like more of the same, and voters are losing faith fast.
And the excuses that just don't add up. Now, for 7 weeks, the Starmer clan stayed in Lord Wahid Ali, Dr. Feelgood for the Labour Party. You need stuff? I got money. What do you need? I got money. Holidays.
Houses.
You want to go to New York? Yeah. What you looking for? What
Loans,
you like?
loans.
£1.2 million. I think I can help you. You know, it's just ridiculous. And that's the problem. It's the
Keir Starmer's leadership is back under the microscope, and this time the heat isn't coming from the usual political squabbles. It's an inferno. His ties to Lord Ali and his extended stay in an £18 million sterling 0 pence penthouse have spiralled into a scandal that just won't cool down. To ordinary Brits, something doesn't add up. The excuses feel paper thin, the timeline's full of holes, and the narrative keeps shifting like quicksand. Starmer claims he stayed at the penthouse so his son could focus on GCSEs. But here's the catch. Those exams ended weeks before the family finally packed up and left. So what were they still doing there nearly 2 months later? That's the question fueling a surge of public distrust. And it's not just a father and son story anymore. Reports suggest extended family were also staying there, turning this into something far bigger about privilege, political favours, and special treatment that working class families could never dream of. Once again, Starmer is preaching integrity while living by a different rulebook. And this time the public's not buying the spin.
And it wouldn't be fair to go any further than that. But this is an open secret at Westminster that those question marks have been around for a long time. And papers have been extraordinarily restrained in not publishing any of that speculation. And even whether they've got, maybe there are publications that have more information than I'm aware of. They've been restrained. Why?
Starmer claims the £450 sterling 0 pence a night stay was properly declared, but critics are calling that a joke. This wasn't some hotel suite, it was a multi-million-pound penthouse. And yet the man who leads a party built on fighting inequality saw no issue accepting what many view as a political free ride. That's what's got people fuming. Not just the luxury, but the double standard. This is a leader who condemns private privilege, lectures about fairness, and paints himself as the everyman's champion. Yet here he is living a life completely out of reach for the voters he claims to represent. And with every new twist, the narrative crumbles further. Each detail adds more suspicion, more cracks in the story. Is this just about helping a son study, or is it part of a much bigger favour that no one's willing to admit? Whatever it is, the official version isn't passing the smell test, and people are catching on. This isn't about a penthouse anymore, it's about trust, integrity, and whether Labour can still look the public in the eye, because if this is only the surface, what's waiting underneath might be far worse.
Clothes. Victoria Starmer has been wearing high-end clothes given to her by a Labour donor. Lord Ali recently gifted her more than £5,000 worth of clothing. He's also given the PM items worth almost £19,000. Starmer did declare his gifts to Parliament, but not his wife's. The gifts have now been registered after the Prime Minister sought advice. And the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner has rejected calls from the Tories for an...
Just as the penthouse scandal began to lose a bit of steam, another bombshell dropped. This time, straight from the Starmer family wardrobe. It's now come to light that Victoria Starmer was gifted over £5,000 sterling, 0 pence worth, of luxury designer clothes by none other than Labour donor Lord Ali. Keir himself racked up nearly £19 sterling, 0 pence in high-end fashion freebies. These aren't harmless gifts. They're elite label handouts that should have been declared to Parliament. But critics say this is part of a disturbing trend: cosy donor relationships, blurred ethical lines, and a leader who treats transparency like a nuisance. His explanation? That he and his wife needed to look their best in public. But voters aren't swallowing it. They're wondering how a man on a hefty taxpayer-funded salary and married to a six-figure earner can justify letting donors pick up the tab for their designer wardrobes. The optics are disastrous. A Labour leader draped in privilege, living large and still claiming to fight for the common man. And remember, they were still lounging in Lord Ali's penthouse weeks after their son's exams ended. The cover stories keep shifting, but the truth? Nowhere to be seen.
Investigation. But does it even matter?
Yes.
He's so rich, he can buy whatever he wants.
He earns enough money to buy a nice frock for his wife.
It is a bit scummy of him, especially considering the promises that he made.
I think he should have donated them to people that need them.
If you are the Prime Minister, you should lead by example.
Well, I don't think no matter what he wears, he ain't going to look good, is he?
MPs are allowed to accept gifts, but they must declare anything which could be regarded as influencing their actions. Foreign Secretary David Lammy said the Starmers had accepted the gifts so they could look their best for the British people. The Prime Minister said it's important to have transparency and insisted the rules are being followed.
Who else stayed there? Who covered the cost of those extra weeks in an £18 million sterling 0 pence penthouse? The public wants answers, but all they're getting is stonewalling, or worse, deliberate suppression. Multiple Westminster insiders now claim that key CCTV footage connected to the scandal, including alleged clips of Starmer and Lord Ali inside private quarters, has quietly vanished into government hands. The order, said to have come straight from Downing Street. Starmer's team insists the footage has no relevance to public interest. But to his critics, it's the clearest sign yet of a cover-up in motion. They're calling it an outright abuse of power, an attempt to smother a ticking scandal before it explodes, and it doesn't end there. Journalists tied to whistleblower Jim Davidson say they've been muzzled, press passes revoked, access blocked, and in some cases directly intimidated. One veteran political correspondent says they were approached by an unnamed figure, acting for top government officials with a blunt message: stop digging. If this were really just about a borrowed penthouse or some designer suits, it wouldn't take this level of force to silence people. Which is why more and more believe the real scandal isn't hidden, it's being wiped out, piece by piece.
Keir Starmer has made an absolutely shocking admission today. He has announced that globalization is over. Now, this will be quite shocking to some of you guys, because I know a lot of you in the comments like to call him things like a globalist puppet. He loves to spend his time abroad at conventions with all his bureaucrat mates who absolutely are obsessed with the idea of globalization. And don't forget that he went viral for this clip here.
Let's just ask you quickly, you have to choose now between Davos or Westminster.
Davos.
Why?
Because Westminster is too constrained, and it's closed, and we're not having meaning. Once you get out of Westminster, whether it's Davos or anywhere else, you actually engage with people that you can see working with in the future. Westminster is just a tribal shouting.
The footage reportedly goes far beyond Lord Ali's office. Sources claim it includes surveillance from the penthouse entrances and hallways, capturing late-night movements, unidentified visitors, and exchanges that some insiders describe as ethically questionable and potentially legally explosive. Jim Davidson says what he's seen should alarm everyone. Starmer's team dismisses it all as malicious gossip. But even Labour insiders aren't so sure. One senior MP, speaking anonymously, called it a slow-motion credibility collapse, just one leak away from full detonation. Stack this on top of the designer wardrobe revelations, the unreported gifts, and the murky penthouse arrangement, and you're left with a party leader who no longer resembles a reformer, but a polished player in the very system he claims to oppose. The image is cracking and fast. This isn't about gossip anymore. Voters want facts. Why was Starmer holed up in that luxury flat? Who else was there? And how many sensitive conversations have disappeared under the excuse of national security? Because Keir Starmer no longer looks like the man leading Britain's future. He looks like someone with something to hide, and the public is starting to connect the dots.
OK, well, the main story on the Mail cover, Starmer, the 18 million penthouse and excuses that don't add up.
Yeah.
What's going on there, Steve?
So he used Lord Ali's penthouse. Lord Ali's the one who's given him all the money, all the glasses, all the clothes. Why has Keir Starmer got a sugar daddy? Why are we not? Is he selling feet pics? Is this what's happening? These are the questions we need to know. He used this place because he needed a quiet place for his son to study some GCSEs. Look, I can start to believe this. No, I understand. You do anything for your kids. But he misses the point. He says it didn't cost the taxpayers anything. We're not worried about it costing us. We're worried about what someone else has paid for.
Well, also, doesn't he say that this was his one life chance to study for GCSE? This is how Starmer's described it. This is your one life chance. As though if you mess up...
Keir Starmer's name is dominating headlines again, and for all the wrong reasons. At the heart of the uproar, his increasingly cosy relationship with Labour donor Lord Ali, who's starting to look less like a supporter and more like a private sponsor to the Starmer household. We're not talking about dinner invites or campaign help, we're talking about high-end perks, designer wardrobes, five-star living and favours that would make most MPs blush. But the real question, echoing across the UK, isn't just what was gifted, it's why. It started with the bombshell that Victoria Starmer was gifted over £5,000 sterling, 0 pence, in designer outfits from Lord Ali. Keir, nearly £19 sterling, 0 pence, in luxury fashion. He only declared the gifts after being cornered. And Victoria's freebies? Quietly omitted until public pressure forced them into the open. Here's the twist. Starmer isn't short on cash. He's a millionaire pulling in a fat taxpayer salary. So why accept these extravagant gifts? What is Lord Ali really buying? Preferential access, political leverage, or just the comfort of having the next Prime Minister on speed dial? The backlash only deepened when Starmer tried to justify their stay in Lord Ali's £18 million sterling, 0 pence penthouse by citing GCSE prep for his son. A touching excuse, but voters aren't buying it. They're side-eyeing it with suspicion, and rightly so.
It's like, oh yeah, you're not going to get into Oxbridge or whatever.
Yeah.
But look, you know the famous old saying, there's no such thing as an £18 million free flat.
No, that's true.
So, this is, it's the hypocrisy. We're having like hypocrisy squared on top of each other because he's the hypocrite, or the Labour Party being hypocrites by saying, look at those Tories taking, billions, and whatever. And then the Tories are now going, look at Labour. But it's like, you guys got all the free stuff as well. Everybody's getting the free stuff.
Yeah, but Labour are saying...
I'm not getting the free stuff.
All of the Labour people that I've heard speak about this are saying that they've declared everything properly, they've gone through the proper channels, no one's done anything wrong.
Well,
that's the claim.
The rules are wrong, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe no one should be getting any free stuff.
And
Maybe.
also,
I'd
if you're setting out your stall as, I'm the anti-sleaze, the corruption-free guy, then don't go near anything. Don't take anything for free, just in case.
What could have been a simple, even relatable story spiralled into a full-blown PR mess. Starmer claimed his family stayed in Lord Ali's penthouse so his son could study in peace. But that explanation collapsed under scrutiny. Why a multi-million-pound luxury suite for GCSE prep? And why linger there weeks after the exams ended? The timeline was flimsy and the public caught on quickly. Let's be honest, if it was truly about quiet study time, a library or modest weekend getaway would have done the trick. So what was this really about? A kind gesture from a friend? Or a favour wrapped in velvet strings? That's when the mood shifted. People stopped nodding politely and started asking pointed questions. With luxury gifts flowing from a top Labour donor, how long until influence seeps in? Could Starmer's decisions be swayed? It didn't take long for the word bribery to start floating around. When one man's bankrolling your wardrobe, your penthouse stay, and possibly more, it raises a blunt, unavoidable question. What's he getting in return? The irony cuts deep. Starmer made a career attacking Tory privilege. Yet now, he's tangled in his own scandal of indulgence. And he's not alone. Reports suggest other senior Labour figures have also enjoyed Lord Ali's generosity, turning the party's anti-elitist messaging into a crumbling facade.
Also, this is like is this the only billionaire that supports Labour? I think it's a bit sad that he seems to, this Ali...
Yeah, he's buying them clothes,
he's
buying them food.
They've got no one else to go, because they said, oh, what's his first name? Is his first name Ali? Yeah, no, his surname's Ali. Lord Ali.
Lord is his first name.
I was looking for it was Lord, yes. Lord Ali.
Yes.
They were like, well, is it Lord Ali's face? He's like, yeah, of course it is.
So he's the only donor at this point.
It seems so.
They would all starve without him.
Lord Ali must be sat there and his phone rings. He's like, oh, Starmer again.
He's just going to give him the bank details and let him get on with it.
And then there's the optics. An outright disaster for a man who built his brand on championing the working class. Keir Starmer, the face of a party that rails against elitism, now looks like just another polished insider. Decked out in designer clothes, living rent-free in a billionaire's penthouse, and racking up perks most Brits couldn't dream of. The internet didn't wait. Memes exploded, hashtags surged, and soon Lord Ali was trending, not as a donor, but as Starmer's sugar daddy. What started as satire quickly morphed into a symbol of everything people believe is rotten in British politics. Was it simply generosity between old friends, or a series of carefully calculated transactions? That's the question gripping the public, because when a politician keeps receiving luxury gifts from the same elite benefactor, innocence isn't the word that comes to mind. Influence is. And here's the brutal truth. People are sick of it. The very voters Starmer claims to stand for are watching in disbelief. Every new revelation hits harder, landing not just on him, but on the credibility of the entire Labour message. This scandal hasn't exploded, it's bled out slowly. Each leak, each dodged question, each awkward silence cutting a little deeper. And while Starmer might still cling to power, the image he sold of honesty, humility and integrity is gone. What's left? A man knee-deep in privilege, guarded by wealth, and neck-deep in the same hypocrisy he once vowed to expose.